welcome back to another episode of Diablo to D&D. My name is David, and today we're going to be going over the fix that I've made for the bow Amazon. So the bow Amazon is... it's been a thorn in my side ever since I created it. It was functional, but it had several issues with it. The bow and crossbow skills of the Amazon has three main lines to it. You have your fire arrow line, your cold arrow line, and your what I call physical arrow line. I managed to mush them all into one subclass. At level 2, you get your magic arrow so that your bows don't require ammunition. And then at levels 6, 10, and 15, you get the enchanted shot. And you could go deep into one line. You could go all in on your fire arrows and just make them bigger and better. Or you can kind of mix and match, go multi-shot and 2 fire arrows, or 1 fire arrow and 2 cold arrows, for example. It added a ton of customization to the class, or to the subclass, but the problem was the elemental lines, the fire and the cold, were just the same things but bigger. There was no variation in what you did. Your turn was take the attack action, fire an arrow, make it explode, roll some dice, and that was it. And that is all the subclass did. So what I have done is take the elemental lines and the physical line and separated them out into their own subclasses, introducing the bow elemental Amazon and the bow physical Amazon. Hopefully with this change, things can end up a little more interesting, give you a little bit more variety to what you're doing. Now, it's not perfect, as I'll show you, but it is still pretty darn good. So let's run through the elemental boazon first. At level 2, you get enchanted shot. Same name, basically same ability. But when you attack, you can choose one. You get either cold or fire. Cold is a constitution saving throw, and the creature's speed is reduced by half, and it can't take reactions until the start of your turn, until the start of your next turn. This is an excellent battlefield control. That's kind of what cold does in Diablo, is makes it a crowd control. Fire, on the other hand, is a dexterity saving throw and deals 1d6 fire damage or half as much on a success. This is just kind of your generic more damage thing. But because you get both cold and fire, you do have the ability to choose which one would be better. Do we just need to get this thing, down? Or is it better to get my ally away so that, they can not die? At level 6, you get empowered shot. Upon reaching 6th level, your enchanted shot becomes more powerful. For the cold, when the creature fails the saving throw during its next turn, it can take either an action or bonus action, not both, and it can make only a single weapon attack regardless of abilities or items. This is, I believe, the wording from slow, the spell slow, and it adds to the your enchanted shot. It kind of levels up. Now, in this case, you'll notice that it's not an area of effect, whereas the second level of the cold and fire arrows, they normally do an area of effect, but I figured that at 6th level you should only be dealing single target stuff. Though I could be convinced to give you the area of effect, but you won't get that till 10th level. The fire arrow, very simple, the damage increases to 2d6. At 10th level, your enchanted shot becomes even more powerful. For cold, when the creature fails the saving throw until the start of your next turn, it becomes incapacitated instead. Its speed becomes 0, and it can't benefit from any bonus to its speed. This is freezing somebody in place. This is the capstone of your, I believe it's called Freezing Arrow, the capstone of your cold damaging abilities. And then fire, of course, just 3d6 additional damage. Fire damage tends to be more generic in Diablo. It doesn't really do much. Okay, that's not technically true because Immolation Arrow does drop an area of effective fire, so maybe change it. But for right now, I'm just leaving it as it is. However, at 10th level, you can spend a bonus action to expand the area of your enchanted shot. When you hit a creature while using your enchanted shot, the effect is also applied to each other creature of your choice within 5 feet of that creature. You can use this ability a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of once, per short or long rest. So the idea behind this is it gives you something to do with your bonus action. It does take action economy, and that does kind of intentionally conflict with things like Pierce, I believe, is the thing that boosts your accuracy. So that way you either have a very powerful or a very accurate shot, or you just hit everything in a row, or everything in an area. Because it has a limited use, I could see it being at level 6. I mean, level 6, you've only got one ability score increase. You're not going to have more than a +3 to your wisdom modifier on average. I could see it doing well at level 6. But there is a very important wording choice here. When you hit a creature while using Enchanted Shot. This is because Pierce at 15th level allows you to hit multiple creatures with a single weapon attack. When you reach 15th level, your power with the bow is legendary. When you make a weapon attack using a ranged weapon that isn't thrown and target a creature within the normal range of your weapon, you may repeat that attack using the same roll against each creature of your choice in a line 5 feet wide emanating from the creature directly away from you out to the normal range of your weapon. Pierce is insane with the elemental shots, because if you have 3 creatures stacked together, say in a line, and you can line it up and you attack, it hits the first one, it hits the one in front, and because it's an area of effect, it hits the second one as well. And then the arrow hits the second one and triggers again, hitting the one in the center and the one in front and the one in back. And then it hits the one in the back, and that hits the one in the back and the one in the middle. So it actually is very, very beneficial to put some points into your wisdom so that you have an additional use of expanding shot per short or long rest. Now, it is short rest. It is pretty powerful, but it is on short rest because that's what the Arcane Archer does. The Arcane Archer has an ability, or has the ability to use their arcane shots, or whatever they're called, twice per short or long rest. But they also have a ton of other abilities that give them flexibility. You know, they have the curving shot and whatnot. In this case, it is pretty darn generic because this is just what it does. It's an arrow that gets better as you level up. So giving you additional uses of expanding shot actually, I feel, is warranted, because it gives you some flexibility on what you want to do. Now we get to the bow physical Amazon. And the first thing I do is take away the physical part of the physical boson with Magic Arrow. Magic Arrow is pretty much the exact same as the previous version. There's a couple changes. You now ignore the loading property of weapons, and it counts as ammunition for abilities that require ammunition, such as for multiple shot. Multiple shot has been upgraded very slightly. Previously, it was just a 1d8 damage, a flat 1d8. However, for this one, a creature takes damage equal to one roll of your weapon's damage die. So if you have a hand crossbow, it's 1d6. If you have a heavy crossbow, it's 1d10. This does open up a very interesting build where you can take a shield and a single hand crossbow, take the defense fighting style instead of the archery fighting style, and then put points into wisdom rather than into your dexterity so that you focus on multiple shot, upping your DC, your saving throw DC, and you walk around and shotgun, and you're a little harder to hit because that 30-foot cone is pretty darn big. But I thought about doing it a couple different ways, and I decided to keep it in that 30-foot cone. The original Diablo adaptation is you make multiple attacks against creatures within an area, but I didn't like that one. At 10th level, you get Guided Arrow. This one was a breakthrough for me. So Guided Arrow in Diablo is you fire it off and it finds the closest creature. However, in this one, instead of making a saving throw, you choose a creature you've seen within the last minute, and it makes a saving throw. I just said, look, you can attack things that you have seen within the past minute. You follow all other rules, but you can still attack anything that you've seen. Your arrow still needs to be able to get to them. But, for example, if something turns invisible, you can still attack it. You still check against the creature's AC, but if it's within reach of your weapon, you can still attack it. It's just more difficult because since you can't see it, you have disadvantage. At 15th level, you get Strafe. This is quite literally lifted almost wholesale from the Hunter Ranger. The only difference is that this is a little higher ability, and you pick a point and you attack things within a 6x6 rather than a 4x4. I could be convinced to cut that down. I'm not terribly attached to that 15-foot radius, but it's basically the same ability. So that is the Boazon, or the two Boazon classes. They're pretty much the same as they were, just with different choices. I'm very glad that I managed to get Pierce back in, because Pierce was... I desperately wanted it to work with melee weapons, but that didn't really work, because it's just, the wording got really, really weird, and it didn't work with most of the weapons anyway, like the javelin, or like the melee javelin, melee spear, and whatnot. It only worked with the reach weapons and the ranged weapons, and it got worded weird. So I'm glad that I managed to slip it in and actually make the full Amazon experience. Now, there are a few things that I have changed off screen. You'll notice that Enchanted Shot says once per turn when you make a weapon attack using a ranged weapon that isn't thrown. This is because the main Amazon gets extra attack now. I pulled it out of the physical Spirit-Azon and dumped it into 5th level, moved Critical Strike up from 5th level to 7th level. This is in part because the Amazon is a martial class, and they deserve to have extra attack. I have, as of yet for the recording, not made a replacement for the physical Spirit-Azon, but I will. It's going to be off screen, and hopefully before next week. If I get it done before releasing this video, I'll put it up on screen so that you have something. But other than that, that's it. This is the last video before the 2nd year anniversary, and before I start putting things in a folder for D2 purists to have for themselves. I'm actually very strapped for time, so I am going to end it here, and I will see you guys in the next video. You can contact me at XenosFan2, that is XENOZFAN2, on Blue Sky and Reddit. And you can contact the channel directly at Diablo, TODND, on Blue Sky and YouTube. Thank you much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good whatever.